building, go to that, and the video's right on the top. You can watch it from there, but I can show you,
Yeah.
it's on YouTube and Vimeo and everything, yeah. It's
That
fun.
sounds
It's
cool.
a new delivery, yeah, cool.
It was fun, 'cause it really.
Okay, we're
created
ready to
something
get
new.
going.
Yeah.
Randy, where's Frank?
Randy's
Oh, there.
Frank's-
Okay.
Let's see, it kind of looks like it's a little
Do you want me to
bright
sit
for
next
the.
to you,
You go
Frank?
to Tennessee?
Yes, please.
I keep asking you that. Let's see how you go. I just-
Randy in there without getting too much. There's Randy.
Yeah.
Look at that this way. This way. No,
Good
this
morning,
way.
everyone. We're started here. Welcome to our Sunday program. I think it's the last one in February, so we're almost sixth of the way through the year. We won't go through the other measurements because they could get rather awful. So today, Frank is going to give our talk, and thank you, Frank, for volunteering to do that.
Frank loves the song.
That's what this is about, actually.
So you know how I generally end what I have to say when, and that's where I'm going to begin. I love the Sangha. I love the Sangha. I love the Sangha. I bow to the Sangha. I take refuge in the Sangha. What does it all mean? I ask myself. What am I saying? What am I feeling? So, let me begin at the beginning. My first experience of Sangha happens in a Vipassana community back in the early 70s. And I had the first sense of being in an assembly. And when I looked up the word, what does Sangha mean? It means, from the Pali, from the Sanskrit, means community or assembly. So I walked right in to a month-long Vipassana experience, and every day everybody was up at 5 in the meditation hall, silent, meditated some hours, had breakfast. The day went on. There was a routine, and the routine was the same every day. And there was a Dharma talk. What I was struck by was everybody together, everybody in concert, everybody in rhythm. There wasn't much interaction. Very little. And I really related to when Doug would say that at the end of a 6-day retreat, after breaking silence, you might sit next to someone and have a little conversation. You've been sitting next to them all week long, and you would talk for 15 or 20 minutes and then possibly never see them again. And that was my first experience. But what I took from it was the degree of respect for each other and for the way of practice that was being demonstrated. So my first experience of Sangha was in the form of I bow to the Sangha. And I had a visceral experience of people taking refuge, that it was a place of safety and security and quiet support in that everybody stayed in rhythm. And I'd never had a kind of a verbal, except maybe high school marching band, but that was that was kind of raucous. My next experience with Sangha was much longer, and it had different elements. There was a teacher, and there was the teachings, and there were the community of people, the Sangha, that asked questions of the teacher, asked questions of each other, interacted with each other around the teachings specifically. And also there was the opportunity for the community to work for the physical nature of the Sangha. There was a building, and there were grounds, and there were projects. And one's efforts on that behalf were for the whole phenomenon of the place in which being together could be fostered and supported. What I understand is in the beginning, Sangha was mostly monastic. You went to a community and really was silence, and there was direction, and you lived according to a set of principles. And then it evolved to include the laity, that you could come to the place of working together. There could be the monks and the lay people. And that mixture produced the opportunities for certain kinds of learnings. Now here in our Sangha, the Sangha this time in this place where we are, there is no teacher. The teacher in the sense of recognized as the one to whom one would ask questions. There is kind of a form. And so all of us come from different teaching traditions and styles, so sometimes there's some work to be done on not having exactly the same language to work with. And so we're learning that with each other. What I bow to is the effort I see in everyone who comes here, the gathering together and here, all of us everywhere that are gathered in this way. I bow with respect to the efforts that people come to be together to share. And I love it in a way because it's so organic. It's so down to earth. It's so non-real formatted, structured, having to check boxes. One of the things that has been of late in our talking together is working with the Ho'oponopono teaching. Maya and others and Alana sent us some things from a few weeks ago about the story of the doc in Hawaii that cleared a criminal ward in 4 years with just this. That's the story that's told. Just taught the criminally insane how to do this, and they became well enough to not have to be institutionalized. And so in community with each other, we have the opportunity to, this is like one of our core teaching opportunities, core interacting opportunities. That is, we can, in community, we do this Monday through Saturday. We don't do it on Sunday. And to say 3 times, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. The I love you is in the sense of namaste in India. I respect and salute that you will work with me in this being human together. So in the community, together we are human. I make mistakes. I am inconsiderate at times. I don't take into account. I forget to attend to. I forget to give a hug. I forget to just make eye contact. And someone feels I don't care about them, or I've slighted them, or they're not important to me. And I don't even know about it. So one of the things that I want to encourage, and we've done that here, and I think we have people here who are all good teachers, where we can say to each other, I need to ask you for an I'm sorry. So I want to ask and bow to the Sangha to say, if I do something unwittingly, uncaringly, insensitively, it would mean a great deal to me, and it would help my evolution if you all would come to me at any time and say, I need to ask for an I'm sorry, or a ho'oponopono. I need a ho'oponopono from you. And I know that if I'm approaching that way, I need a ho'oponopono from you. I will be able to say, yes, please, tell me. And then you can tell me how I was insensitive or uncaring, or used what appeared to you as a harsh tone or an insensitive awareness. And then I'm afforded the great opportunity to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And I can only get that from you guys. I can only get that from you guys. There's nobody else like that. So the requesting an I'm sorry and in asking forgiveness, we have the opportunity to do both with each other. And I think since we all know now that enlightenment is a concept, but living in an enlightened way is a possibility for all of us, because we all have Buddha nature. And we know there are the Buddhist traditions where it's the graduated path. The Tibetan path is the graduated path to enlightenment. And the Zen path is more like the sculptor path, as you chisel away at the stone and suddenly there's the enlightened Buddha nature there if you chip away at the stuff. That's our concrete thinking. So this is one of the tools. So I just want to tell you all and ask today for all of us to share what Sangha is for us, what it means to us, what it can become for us, what more we want from it. Because for me it's not mental. I mean, I'm in the room here with these guys and you guys, and you're all here. And so it's really palpable and visceral and real for me, and I think for most everyone. And so this is where the real meat is. So that's really what the talk today is about. I love the Sangha, means I am so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be here at this time in this incarnation with all of you. I love the Sangha. I bow to the Sangha. I take refuge in the Sangha. Thank you.
So Frank, I got a question. At the beginning, you spoke about being in India for a month with Galinka, and that you operated by principles. They were these explicit principles that when everyone arrived, they said, these are the principles by which we operate. And how important was that to maintaining the explicit presentation of the principles to everybody getting along? And how does that reflect in this community and other communities you've been in? How explicit do the principles need to be made?
So what I would say, an aspect of it it wasn't so much the principles as the structure that was really not explained at all. Just you watched, it was silent meditation. And the instruction was there would be an hour of strong meditation where you didn't move a muscle. You didn't scratch an itch. You didn't shift a knee that was hurting. And then an hour of soft meditation where you could adjust your seating or something, clothing. And then an hour of walking meditation. So it was structure, and it was so simple. It was a dinner gong, and you went and had lunch, and that was lunch. There was lunch, and then dinner was a glass of milk and a banana at 5 o'clock, and that was it. In the community, the Long community, there were exercises. So just to give you an example, I was functioning psychiatrist at the time. One of the exercises for 3 years was not to cross our legs. So imagine sitting in a psychiatrist's chair.
It's not Buddhist.
No, this was a different Buddhist. Yes, I'm just talking about, yes, that was not a Buddhist community. But in communities, sometimes there are practices, structures. So for example, here, we've incorporated Ho'oponopono, which is not a Buddhist thing, into our Buddhist community. And we find it of value. I would say the principles or the structure is not so important. It's the understanding of the value. And when we open the ceremony of taking refuge in the 3 jewels, it just warms my heart because it makes me think of all of the 2,500 years of Buddhism and the teachers, all the great teachings and the shelves of books and instructions and the wonderful human beings there. So the doing of ritual evokes heart opening for me. So I would say that's its value rather than its importance.
You used the term Ho'oponopono. I really don't have any idea what that means, and I think I'm not alone. I mean, I remember Mark Adams was asking him last week the same question, and I feel a bit like naked in front of you, saying, admitting I don't know what that means, but can you tell us what that means?
Oh, thank you, Gregory. So there's a Hawaiian communal, as I understand it, and I know there are people here who know much more than I do, but the little that I know is that it's a community-wide practice where they say Ho'oponopono at the beginning of assemblies to say, forgive me my trespasses and those who trespass against me, essentially. I'm sorry, please forgive me. These 4 sentences were actually an adaptation of that by a particular person to be a teaching of that concept in the Western culture. The little reading I've done, the one that stuck with me was that to say Ho'oponopono means I ask the permission of the gathering and myself to put things back in balance, to put things back in order. Things are awry, there's a disturbance in the force. So when there's a disturbance in the force, this is the methodology where we come together into alignment again. And when feelings, and so in the Western, we added to that, the way we do that is to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me.
And how do you say it?
Ho'oponopono.
How do you spell it?
Ho'opono, Opono. Ho'oponopono.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just to say the basis of it is the understanding that we're all human, which means we're all fallible. So we all do things that hurt other people, or disappoint other people, or don't meet expectations of other people. And the idea is, in the older Hawaiian tradition, is that we live in community and we value community. So we know ahead of time that we are going to create difficulties for people because of who we are. And so it's done in community as a ritual to say, I'm sorry, basically. And they say together in unison. All used to. Yeah.
That's cool.
And that communal coming together and saying, I'm sorry, even though you're not saying what you're sorry for, often when what I find in saying I'm sorry, there are things that come forward that like, oh yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
please forgive me. But we have to forgive ourselves first. So in a whole community where there's trouble, there's ego flare-ups and the rest, for the whole community to go together and say, I am sorry, each individually dissipates the flare-ups that would happen later and actually brought harmony without having to go much further in explaining or talking, or maybe there were side people getting together and say, hey man, I really came to mind, I really offended you, I'm sorry. And you get a chance to work it out, but it just tenderized the whole community in that, in just that brief chant. And it came to us through a couple sources. One through, for some reason, from this Israeli, Benny brought it. And then Keith was aware of it 30, 40 years ago. And so it's been around, but to embrace it in our community seems to, I don't know, it's hard to, if we hadn't done it, I don't know what other trouble we would be in.
I'd like to add that when I took a weekend workshop with this man who healed that ward, and another, I guess, fractal layer of this is to understand that each of us as the seat of consciousness of the entire universe. When there's disruption that we see, an unhealthy person, this is a result of a distortion in consciousness. And so, as that seat of consciousness, I'm sorry that you in your life ended up like this and appeared to me as mentally ill. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And then the piece that, and thank you, and the other sentence that I had learned, I won't use the G word, but I'll say bless you. Bless you was that last line. And so it's that then on a fractal layer as the source of all, that disruption, the suffering from that God, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. The Chris is saying.
Chris? Chris?
Me?
Yes.
I don't know, maybe.
Oh,
Sorry,
a lot of,
I thought you put your hand.
but you
No.
can go.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking, actually, forgiveness has been kind of a topic in the last few days. Uh, I just have these kind of things I work on from time to time, and the universe seems to reinforce it because every time I turn around, I get another lesson. I'll just turn like yesterday. I never watch movies online, and I just picked a movie at random. And I just wanted to relax, and truly it was at random. And the whole point of the movie was about finding forgiveness in somebody that actually had committed a serious crime. Um, and also at the prison, it would with the work uh, I become more aware, I think, um, of how my actions might impact others, or might be harmful to others without any intention whatsoever. And I think that arises from they're kind of in this pressure cooker, and little things are a big deal to them. Just they can easily feel slighted just by um, somebody said not making eye contact or forgetting to include them directly in some activity. Um, and I become much more conscious of that than I ever have been before. Uh, we I'm able to communicate through a prison messaging application, and but you can only contact one person at a time, right? There's no distribution. Send it to a whole group of people, which would be nice, but you can doesn't have that capability. So uh, early about many months ago, what I would do when we were going to have an event or something, I would send it to some key people and ask them to uh, tell the others about that so that everybody would know. So I wouldn't have to individually, and they charge you, of course, it's a nominal charge, but it's just, I just thought that was easier. Well, what I found out is that that might be easier, but what happened is that some people felt that didn't get the direct message felt very hurt by that and didn't tell me that, but I didn't realize until uh, a third person came back to me and said, so and so is very upset and hurt by the fact that you didn't contact him like the rest of us, or like some of the rest of us. And I felt really sad about that. And so I did go to that person, and I made sure to I make sure to include him now, and everybody. I have to. I go out of my way to try to make sure I include everybody if I have something to say. Uh, and I did speak to him about that as well. Also gave me some insight into what it's like in their situation. To really put myself in their shoes, and uh, you know, the life they have in that context is one of, a lot of it is just waiting on little things to happen. They really look forward to things like our visits, and um, that's a big part of their lives, whereas we might not consider it, that big a deal, right? uh, that is a big deal to them, and they're really counting on that and looking forward to. So it's just kind of elevated my consciousness of that part of it. It's like a responsibility. It's a responsibility to treat people well and to become more conscious. Don't be, cause harm to others just by not being conscious of uh, our own impact we have on others. Thank you.
I see Nick has his hand raised. Nick? Nick, I see you have your hand raised. Did you want to speak?
That might be my hand on the computer.
This little one here?
Yeah, you could
Oh, okay.
to the side, but
Who's the lady that was sitting there? She seems like a new member, maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see the name. Lisa?
Lisa,
Hi, Lisa. Hi. You have to unmute
Hi.
yourself. Hi there.
Hi,
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Some of us don't recognize you, including me.
I'm Doug's cousin.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome.
And I live in Santa Cruz, and I'm joining you from Carmel Valley today. And I have been reading Zen probably since high school, but have never belonged to a group or anything. So I was delighted to find that you had something on Zoom.
Welcome. How wonderful. Wonderful.
Great.
Greg. Hi, Greg.
Um, this might be very basic and silly, but I will share it because what people have been saying is reminds me of something. In terms of doing something unconsciously that hurts other people, like our comments. For instance, you're in a room like this, and somebody says something, and somebody says something, and you think, and you have a response. Something just comes up, and you give that response from a place of good intention. Maybe it's a happy. You're in a good mood. You're happy. So what you're saying is good intention. But as often or can happen, people can, your good intention, your sharing could actually piss somebody off. And I mean, it does happen. And I'm struggling because I sometimes, because you can stop and say, before you say anything, and just say, okay, let me analyze it. Is this going to be okay? And you can go through like a checklist of, is Bob Carroll, Ted and Alice going to be upset if I say this? Okay. And by the time you go through the whole, if I did that, by the time I went through this whole checklist of, is it going to upset or hurt someone else, the moment's gone, and even the sharing is gone. And I guess what I'm getting at is that as humans, I think we sometimes have this. If it's just say it comes from somewhere you don't really know, or you have a response, you have something you want to share that. And you don't vet it. You just let it come out because it feels right. You're coming from good intentions, and you say something which is maybe poignant, maybe has some real kernel of wisdom or joy or whatever, and you want to share that. and yet it sometimes can rub someone the wrong way. So I hesitate to say, I've started to hesitate to let those kind of outbursts, if they're not outbursts, but those sharings, I started to check on them and reel them in. Wait a minute, let me think about this first before, because maybe it will hurt someone's feelings. And then I've realized, I think, or then maybe, and I just don't share it. And I'm wondering, there's no right or wrong answer here, but I'm just saddened that I think will the youth, not that what each of us says, if we edit too much, we might kill the joy and of where it's coming from. And like I said in the beginning, if it's coming, and I guess my question is, if it's coming from a place of intention, of goodness, of sharing, I'm feeling positive. This is a positive thing I'm trying to share with her. I don't know. Is that? I'm struggling to even formulate the question, but it's just something that it worries me if we edit out all the we might short circuit or shortchange all of us, ourselves included, if we don't share those kind of little outbursts. I don't know, but I think I'm struggling to. Maybe I need some
How to
help.
maintain the spontaneity.
Correct. Yeah.
Share hearing.
Yeah, please. Can I say something?
Yes.
Last week was when I was talking about the Ho'onopono, and I'm so sorry that I didn't give the background. We do it every day, so it had just become part of my my life. I actually took a class 20 years ago from the Ho'onopono people up in Los Angeles, and didn't use it or didn't practice it for a decade or more. But one of the things I enjoyed so much last week was, I don't remember, we had like 25 or 30 people, was the facets of the diamond that each person in the Sangha represented. It was a slightly different facet of perspective, experience, that was different from mine. Charles had a different one. Everybody had some contribution that made me stretch my heart and my mind and my perspective to realize, oh, there's so many different ways to look at things. It's not just my way or the way. There's many ways to look at things and to experience it. And each one of us have had such a different childhood and upbringing and education and different sanghas they've been a part of. And so everybody brings such a different perspective that it's such a gift that we have such a rich sangha here. The other thing I wanted to share about the Ho'onopono and how it related to, I'm sorry, the gentleman that just spoke, I didn't hear his name. I'm sorry, who was it?
Greg.
Greg.
Gregory.
It is to actually, one of the things that I was trying to express last week was when I went into that darkest of dark places and took accountability, I realized that I had participated by not being authentic when I was relating with people, maybe trying to control their reactions or trying to be not rock the boat. And in all that, in that reflection, I realized that I wasn't telling the truth. I wasn't expressing my own experience. And truly, what I was ended up doing was lying. It's not true. I had a mask on about what I was experiencing. And so what I really respect is it takes courage and vulnerability to share your authentic experience, especially if it doesn't fit with the norm or what society, getting along and a good girl or what a good man would do. I mean, there's all this pressure on us to be a certain way. And I'm just telling you, each and every one of you have such a beautiful story and perspective to bring to us that either shows us where we're lacking potentially and how we're perceiving something, or a deeper way we can love and appreciate and be sensitive to the needs of others so that we can respond in a more loving way. And it's like there's so many, and because there's so many different people, we've got an infinite, 9 billion ways to learn this while we're here. What do we have? 9 billion people on the planet. So it's like there's so many different nuances we're going to get to learn and stumble and trip and offend. But the most important thing is to truly have the courage to share. And it's the courage to be vulnerable, to share that you hurt me, or not you hurt me, I've experienced hurt. I felt hurt. It's not that they did it. It's like it brought up something inside of me that felt painful or hurtful. So anyway, thank you.
R.
Thank you so much for this and for last week as well. Being able to catch Mahasanga from afar, flitting around California and beyond feels a gift. I'm curious if the Sangha here would be willing or interested in bringing in someone from the culture that we are borrowing from to speak to the prayer itself in a landscape where the phrase cultural appropriation just comes up, and noticing demographics of a group that is using a prayer almost daily. And the second thing was, oh, rats. This is what happens when I get nervous, because I get nervous sharing anytime, all the time, is I forgot the other thing. It's not that important. I'd rather hear from other folks, and I have to buzz off right at noon sharp. So just relinquish and practice leaner speech next time. Thank you so much. Looking forward to sharing this with my dad later today or whenever.
Thank you.
I want to just say to R, like, if you need to interrupt me because you remembered, please do. Thank you for your courage to share even if you're nervous. I wanted to highlight something. You said a number of things, Frank, that sparked things for me. And the thing that feels most important to highlight is you're inviting everybody to ask for, in brief, an apology, but to understand the context of what is that, where it's not that you tried to hurt someone, or to ask for an apology from a place where I also know and trust that you didn't mean harm, kind of thing. Like that both of us are coming from a bigger picture, which in brief, please, and ho'oponopono kind of thing. And that ties in also with, you said there's no leader in the group, and there's not like the stated guru. And then also, when you said that, I was like, it's sort of like distributed, right? Mm-hmm. Like any one of us at any time can be like Chris, and I didn't realize that this person was seeing me in the same way. Let's say I know what it's like to have somebody and be sensitive to what they're saying in a particular way. That could be like, okay, in that moment, Chris is the leader of that person, and to be sensitive to the power that each of us has. Mm-hmm. And let's say, to name in this Sangha, the core three of you have inherently at the seed of this experience we have together just an innate seniority within our group, because you are the ones that instigated it and have been around the longest. And so there's a natural power, and to not deny that. Like for Chris to say, it's not that I'm like some powerful ego guy, it's just, this is my impact that somebody who cares about this experience is sensitive to. And so when you invite that ho'oponopono to be expressed, then we all have the vulnerability. Like, it's a extremely vulnerable thing for a person who feels scared and hurt to then tell the person that's scared and hurt them. Like, that's a like huge ask. And so for us as a collective to invite that of each other in this distributed leadership, not knowing when am I going to hurt someone or not. And so that to me is the insurance. Like, then I can be spontaneous if I know that, hey, everyone, please let me know if I hurt your feelings or if I ignored you by accident. Then it's like self-healing. And then when somebody asks me for an apology, it's not, like, I can learn more about you and see, oh, this is a sensitive being, and I can treat you like the precious being that you are in that moment. And also then feel towards myself, like, oh, could I have been more sensitive, or was my intention pure? If not, I can self-correct, or maybe it was just like completely an accident kind of thing. So anyway, I just want to particularly hone in on that permission for all of us to be open to that. Yeah.
Charles?
First, I want to thank R. I thought that was a brilliant idea. I would certainly like to see somebody, possibly even in the Hawaiian culture, be able to share with us their understandings and beliefs about this particular concept. Let me just go a second here. Excuse me. Okay, it's okay. And again, I want to reiterate, this particular concept does not resonate with me at all. I've tried to understand it. I would describe it as, first word that comes to mind is sappiness. Sappiness. It's just sort of like an unnecessary frill. But again, that's just me, and that's just how I feel. I don't operate like, when I deal with people, I just sort of like, whatever in me senses what is going on with another person, it just tries to interact with them. If necessary, and they feel that they need something, I will attempt to give it to them. If I see that they might need a little bit of encouragement about something that they are working on, a slight compliment or pushing them in a certain direction to make them feel good about what they are doing. That's part of my MO. But the concept of, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, it just doesn't fit in my mindset. And I'm not saying that's wrong, and I understand that other people, as I said, I think R had a good idea. I'd like to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Another idea, it's an extraordinarily delicate art of pointing out the imperfections of another person directly to them. And this has to simultaneously be juxtaposed with the concept of the non-expression of negative emotions. So there's two things going on here. Number one, when somebody is causing you a slight or a moderate amount of irritability, is it your work to notify them that this predicament is occurring, or is it your work to strengthen yourself of being able to experience this yet not express it? In other words, is it going to be better for you to gain a certain amount, even if it's small, a little bit of strength of character to not express a negative emotion? What I've found in life is that many people seem to thrive upon living within argumentation. This is what many people, many people. In other words, unless there is an argument or confrontation going on, that they're not alive. And this gives them life. So again, is it better to point out something to somebody, or is it better to gain a certain type of strength from yourself of being able to accept it for that moment, and maybe not expressing it to them is going to be better for them than if you did, because it's going to disarm them in a certain way. Did I have something else to say? Also, yes, one other idea on that particular concept. If you are going to point a defect in their actions or their personality out to them, frequently or generally, it cannot be done at the time that the situation occurred or is occurring, because people are in a state. And when they're in a state, they're unable to hear anything. It might be better to note, to make a mental note about something, and then at the right time, when the energy between you and that particular person is somewhat neutral, at that point, you might delicately say, listen, I just wanted to bring something up to you, and I don't want you to take this in the wrong way, but I just want you to try to hear me. And then you can bring up the situation, and maybe you can get some resolution to that particular situation. Maybe. And maybe they won't hear it, because we're designed in a way where we seem to buffer certain types of information coming from other people. But it's like an art. It's a very delicate art. In terms of getting along with other people, I had the opportunity when I was younger to spend time on at a Buddhist monastery way up in the mountains without electricity or communication or toilet facilities or running water or anything. But it was a significant monastery in the Himalaya, and from my memory of it, life was, I don't want to use the word difficult. Life was so all-consuming in terms of just getting from point A, from making breakfast in the morning to sitting several times a day to taking care of the projects that had to be done at the monastery. And there was very little talk, not only between, well, most of them spoke no English, maybe a few words, some of them. But there seemed to be very little verbal communication going on. It was just
Charles, I'm sorry. Our time is getting a little bit short. Thank you so much for the sharing. I want to ask if we could bring the focus back to Sangha and the value of this community to each other, kind of in the here and now, and That's what I wanted. So, thank you, Charles. There are many things there to reflect upon, and I'd like to speak with you further about. But
Sure.
since I'm sort of directing you, I was just kind of watching the time. Ben, you're muted, Ben. Ben, there we go.
I'm sorry. I was actually just bowing to, um, but I did have a thought that crossed my mind that I wanted to share. Is, would somebody from long ago, would one of our ancestors recognize what we're doing now, like as how they deal with Sangha? And I think yes, they would. But it is very different. Like Oponopono, how was said, is a very different idea than what they would have gone for. I'm sure there's some poly idea that they would have pointed to that, oh, you're just talking about this. So anyway, I just invite people to think about how they what our ancestors did and how they would have approached this.
Thank you, Ben. One of the things in the precepts in Buddhism is an encouragement to not create schism in the Sangha. And understanding that concept that so many Sanghas experience schism, you can see why it might have already been there as a precept to at least think about how does that come to pass. And it comes to pass from a number of different ways. So there is, in the Ho'opono, we're speaking about the relationship between each other. When we do it as community, all together, it can remind us of speaking to the idea that we wish the community to be healthy, because the community is a place of refuge. And so one of the, if it does not happen today, what I'd like to put out there is part of what I wish to bring to community was thinking about community as the container, as we use in our current language, the body of where the teachings of the Buddha and the great teachers of all the ancestors share the information that can bring our work, our true Buddha nature, to more fruition. So the long history of what we call enlightened beings gives me, and I think all of us, confidence that this possible psychological evolution of humans does exist, and that having the right circumstances in which that evolution can take place is of great value, even though there are stories of individual beings becoming enlightened all on their own, spontaneously, or through long study or work as a hermit, but the vast majority do it in community. And so the one idea is, what can I do to contribute to the health of the Sangha? And so that's an aspect of work. John, did you wish to?
I have a very short input. I love your history of being involved in sanghas and that you love this sangha, and I am convinced that instead of just saying I'm sorry, that you need to be specific. And I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry for what I took. I'm sorry for what I did. Whatever, so that that gets specific and can encourage a conversation to heal and accept the sorrow.
Thank you, John.
So there are two aspects to Ho'oponopono, to your point. One is communal, that it's almost like we are all taking responsibility. We are all owners of the health of the community.
Yeah.
You know, it's that. And what you're talking about is exactly the personal, which is so powerful and so important, you know, that you actually say for the specific.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nick?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Frank, for this excellent meeting, and thank you for everyone who's contributed. Yeah, it was something John just said really clicked something in my mind, is like, with regards to the whole Pono itself, it's something I don't understand, and I like hearing what R said about including, kind of like the people and the origin of that. But um, I did actually go to a Hawaiian meeting like 2 years ago in the Bay Area. My one of my teachers, Abuelo Fred, his wife, works with a Hawaiian group, and they brought an actual Hawaiian elder to their land in Gilroy, and there was a ceremony down there. But I just know, I just attended that meeting. But I guess there are like actual Hawaiian groups in the Bay Area that do practices and dances and stuff like that. Um, but I mean, what John was saying reminded me of my own practice of repentance that I've taken up, actually. And so that's something that I can really kind of speak to firsthand. I mentioned several times in this group, and it's had such a big impact on me, reading Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche's book, The Heart of Compassion, and then Patrul Rinpoche's book, and also Shanti Deva's The Way of the Bodhisattva. Learning in the story of the Buddha, as I understand it, or as is told by the Tibetans, is that the Buddha achieved his incarnation as Shakyamuni through selfless acts of self-sacrifice. The phrase that's used in Patrul Rinpoche's book is exchanging oneself for another. So, like in Shakyamuni Buddha's previous incarnations, someone was going to die, and Shakyamuni said no. Or prior to Shakyamuni said, no, let it be me. Like, I will die. And so, like, the Tibetans attribute his exchanging himself for others to his enlightenment and his incarnation of the Buddha, which of course it's a tricky thing, like self-sacrifice. But through that practice, I did take up some recitation of a Tibetan mantra, the Vajrasattva mantra, which is the Vajrasattva visualization and Vajrasattva mantra is meant as a practice of repentance. And so I guess just for me, like struggling in my life and struggling with interactions with other people, I did take up that practice and I found it very fruitful, not in like a self-harming way, but in like a truly sincere way of like asking myself, do I have anything to repent for? Or like what do I have to repent for? And I guess that's been like hugely fruitful for me, is just like asking myself like, what do I have to be sorry for, and how have my actions actually hurt other people even though they felt really good to me. One of the quotes from Shanti Deva's The Way of the Bodhisattva, he says, all the harm that has come to the world was because somebody wanted something good for themselves. And all the good that has come to the world was because somebody wanted something good for someone else. And in my own like practice and faith of like understanding that we are one, or like the true self is the entirety of existence, understanding that it's like, yeah, it's like not about just how things appear to this one person. But it's like somehow like if I do a good deed for another person, even though I don't experience like the self satisfaction, somehow that is like my truest expression. But it's still something I'm trying to understand, like how to interact with people and how to understand how other people feel and how to put other people's feelings in my own consideration for what I do with myself. So this is an awesome discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Angio, you spent time in Sanghas.
Yeah, thanks. So you have to ask yourself the question, what does it mean to be in a Sangha if there are no individual anatma, souls, egos? So the sixth patriarch would answer, Nick, the beings that you see in your mind are the basis of your enlightenment. And therefore, they're all emanations of your own mind. And when you understand them, you are enlightened. So it's that, as you were saying, Nick, and has come up many times in this group, the non-separation between people is what you're working with in the completeness of your own mind. So it's that ability to, when you help all beings, there are no beings to be helped. And as far as working just the nuts and bolts and Sangha, there's plenty of schisms. And actual fact, when you live in a monastery for a while and you don't have much else to occupy yourself with, there can be a lot of backbiting and harmful speech. And it is the Sangha's responsibility to, as a group, out that behaviour. So you actually have once a month you get together and you can actually say, well, so and so, so and so, and the group will then decide whether there should be an apology or not. So it's and while I'm talking, I have some trouble with the Ho'oponopono. Beautiful idea, but it is dealing with people as individual things as opposed to being part of a continuity. But then I don't know it, never studied it, so just listen. Thank you.
Okay. So again, I know the focus has been a bit with the Ho'opono. That's in reference to it has been in our sphere for a while. My wish today is to bring to the fore, and I'll say it again, there's individual work one does on oneself. There's work with each other, which is another line of evolutionary work, and there's work for the Sangha to make a healthy container in which the first two types of work can take place. And so understanding the concept of the Sangha as a container and a holder, a holding place for the individuals and for the teachings to continue is something that is more than just a community, a neighborhood, the folks who live around you. So it's where like-minded people come together, understanding some basic core ideas of what they're there doing together. So if some have come there to raise a barn and others to build a ship, those aren't quite the same. So here we're building a Sangha in which we can speak of these things that lead to our evolution, because we wish that for each other.
I do want to share that I did an experiment with the 70-member Sangha that I work with. And I messaged the idea of Ho'oponopono, but also detailed what the point was. And by far, I've gotten more responses to this post than any other, by far. And further, I got reports from people who said, "Oh, I get it. I am far less reactive when offended now. I'm able to say to the person, oh, you're upset with me. I must have done something. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Can we talk about it?" And instead of talking about it mentally, what I'm hoping to do with this particular contribution is to tell you how miraculous it's been. I do not have an expert from Hawaii here. And as far as I know, none of the members of the Sangha are Hawaiians. But people took to it like fish to water. And the people belong to the Sangha are people are Buddhists. So apparently the concept works, and it's of great benefit to people who live in close proximity and depend on each other's state of mind.
Randy.
Yes, I love the Sangha. First, just to honor Frank, your enthusiasm toward the Sangha is infectious. We all now, there's a meme, it's a Frank meme, okay, I love the Sangha, I bow to the Sangha. It's become its own entity, if you will, that I think is the helium is one of the helium balloons in this Sangha that raises it up, that makes me want to be here, either remotely or in person. So just to honor, I just feel a lot of gratitude for the triumvirate as Maya kind of noted, but also I think it's Maya's part of it, and Brady, and John or whoever else. This was a garden that was already formed that I had the grace to come into, and I really honor here, for those of you who haven't been to Alana and Frank's house, on the door when you enter, it is a sign on the door that says everyone welcome, or I don't even know what it says, but it's basically come in, you're always welcome. And that's what it's felt here as well as in Oakland. And to me, that's the beauty of it. And for me, that's what's so visceral and why it's a safe, loving, caring, nurturing space that wisdom is shared, that everybody gets a chance to share in their share and to play with, as this whole discussion here and last week, it is this little science experience, which is, as I understand it from the Buddha, is like you take it all in and then you decide for you what works, what doesn't work. But there's a level of openness to play around, to throw different ideas, to bring different pieces in, that I really love, respect, and honor. So I feel very grateful and blessed to be connected to all of you and this growing, what really feels like a growing. There's new people that I see here all the time. It's a growing organic entity that is this garden, that is alive and bearing beautiful fruit. So, thank you.
Well, Brady.
Yeah, well, thank you for all your shares, and thank you, Frank, for giving us this talk. Yeah, I feel, I love the Sangha too. I mean, I'm a big fan of Sangha in general. I love Sangha. I love people, and I'm kind of an extrovert in general, but I feel like, yeah, I feel like and I've heard this as a quote before, that we need others to kind of reflect back to us our own divinity. And it's through others that we can kind of find a deeper sense of wholeness and grow. And it makes life worth living. I feel like people and community make this journey of life a lot more meaningful. Because if you don't have any people, it seems kind of meaningless, you know. So, yeah, I have a deep appreciation for Sangha and the way in which it kind of grows. It's a space to grow and contribute, and a feeling of increased unity and a sense of expansion and understanding, because everyone has their own unique perspective and everybody has their own unique world that they share and bring, and it increases the sense of mystery in life and just the endless possibilities and perspectives that life has and can be seen through, and helps to break me specifically out of my own patterns if I have them, which I have a lot. And so, yeah, that's my thank you.
Thank you, Brady. Reed, you've had much experience in Sangha.
Yeah. Sangha has always been a big question for me. It's so needed. It's probably the one that I spend the most time with, or have spent the most time with, in my practice. And like I've told Frank and Alana, I lived at a retreat center, and my role was to be was a protector role, and I needed to enforce boundaries within a sangha, and mediate between groups. And then when something did come up, like say this is too far and you need to do X, Y, Z, or and I don't know. I've just, after having watched an entire sangha more or less collapse in some ways and reform in different ways, and I have a huge question mark where sangha sits for me, of how tight is to your point, Frank, of like it's a group coming together around certain precepts. Like, how many precepts do we need? What are those that actually end up guiding a group? Because I really sense the need for that sometimes, or else a group just kind of goes off into the stratosphere, and there's no sense of moving in any direction. But then if it gets too tight, then people start getting excluded, and their thoughts start, that the way they are doesn't fit into the way that the Sangha is directed, and then but also, you know, like one of my big questions is, you know, I want to get into a sangha that I feel like gives, that I can provide to and give value to, and also give something back. You know, like we all, you know, are looking for that kind of exchange, I think, when you get into a sangha, of like getting value and so I don't know how to really it's the one that I've struggled the most with, I feel like. So what does a healthy sangha look like? And I love this horizontal idea. It's really beautiful in its own way. It's very different, because I was involved in Tibetan Buddhism. You know, it's very different from that idea that, you know, there's the guru who directs all of the flow of, you know, information and you know, holds the law, as the Tibetans talk about it. And I don't know, because there's also something very powerful about that. You know, you can get some really powerful truths from somebody who's really focused on that type of thing. And so, yeah, I don't see. I appreciate you bringing it up, because it really is just, where do we draw lines? Do we need to draw lines? How do we draw them if we do? What brings people together? What pulls us apart? How do we format ourselves in this?
Yeah. I'd like to say something I feel compelled to say. You are part of the core and always have been, and your influence is big and huge and appreciated. And your efforts in divine dialogue and the consistency and what you do with that, which is creating a unified, interdependent consciousness. I am so sorry that I've not expressed that maybe clearly enough to you, how much I appreciate it and appreciate your efforts.
Second that.
And also, everyone here is at the core. This is still the very beginning. Everyone in this room, everyone on the screen is core.
Exactly.
There are two aspects to that, many more, but two I'll mention. One, there are no committees. There are no rules. There's no money involved. We don't have to pay the rent, the sewage. We don't have to build an assembly hall. All of these things, when a community is having to do those things, and it has to build monasteries, have places of worship and study and libraries. So in a certain sense, compared to things, others, we're in a pretty lucky sangha at this place, at this time, and everybody is here right at the beginning. And we are not looking to grow at all, because we don't have to bring in more income in order to build more buildings, in order to house more manuscripts. So we have some outrageous good fortune in this vortex, in this part of the matrix at this time. And so I think that's why we all do feel blessed to be with each other. We're very, very lucky. And we can keep reminding each other Rachel, are you there?
Yep. Hi.
Hi.
I don't really have more different things to say or offer than has already been offered today. Um, around, the value and the purpose or the benefit of Sangha. Um, I mean, the only other different thing that I would maybe say is that it's a little bit like a laboratory. So kind of, pointing or, dovetailing off of Reed's query about really what's the benefit or the point of a Sangha. And there's definitely, like difficulty, but to me, in a Sangha, it's like a lab for experimenting or, where the fire extinguishers all work and that's safe to kind of, explore what it is to have this human life and all of the messiness around it. Yeah, being in a Sangha is like being in your life. I mean, the discomfort I've had today that I've experienced in myself listening to various comments is no different than being out of the Sangha. So I'm reflecting on that. Thank you.
Doug, you've been in Sangha a lot, in different Sanghas, and you have contact with different Sanghas. Share with us your wisdom.
Anytime there's, well, as I was telling you, when we do a Zazen Kai, there's always, if I just show up, there's three of me. Mm-hmm. Me, myself, and I. So we all have those parts, and get frustrated with those parts. And it seems like one of the first things that arises in a day is like, what is dysfunctional? I need coffee. That's what's the problem. I need... Somebody left a mess. Somebody did this. Somebody, it's negative. You go negative. That's the first thing you do. So in monasteries or in community, it's like, did you see what they did? It's always somebody's triggered by something negative instead of what's positive. And so it seems like the normal default in reactions everywhere is like, that guy didn't stop at the stop sign. He cut me off. That woman bumped my shopping cart. She wasn't paying attention. It's always to the negative. You go into the negative right away. And so these reminders about there are other possibilities. There are other causes and conditions out there that are affecting things. It really helps to open it up. I appreciate you talking about everybody is here at the beginning, because that's where we all are. There's histories here that go way back. Multiple histories that go way back among our Sangha, and here we all are now, joined in together. No one's left behind. Not that we don't have some problems, but some of us, inch our way into, do I need to check with everybody what they're going to think about what I'm going to say? Or some of us are like, no, I'm just going to go ahead and do it and ask forgiveness afterwards. I mean, I've been a builder. I've been in construction. I've been, you just go do stuff, because if you have to ask everybody, somebody's going to say no. So if you want to know, you can go find somebody to say no. But instead, you just do it. And then you run up against, oh, I see, I caused a problem here. Please forgive me, Inspector. And so we all have these different modes of how we interact, and we get checked by it. And we're so fortunate to have this big Sangha. You are the eldest here, I think. So for now, some of us are working to catch up, and and then we die and we're reborn. And I've noticed in the grandkids, the kids and the grandkids, that really they say that's where our elders go to be, to teach us again. So it's this, we're a big recycling bin, and maybe Sangha can be looked at in that as a tumbler, a rock tumbler, to knock off the rough edges. And when the moment arises to take charge, like Maya does often, in finding someone who has not been spoken up, you identify the group need in a way that's a real leadership role. And most people would not pick up on that, but that quality, we rely on all these unique qualities each of us have separately to bring to this Sangha, and that's what really makes it special for me. So thank you, Frank. Thank you, everyone, for your shares today, too. Angyo, did you have one more thing to say?
Yeah, I was just going to mention Patimokkha, which is the rules for monks living in a large sangha. Patimokkha means to approach liberation, and the rules were built up by the Buddha over quite a long period. His teaching ministry, and each time there was a dispute, he would make a ruling on it. And so there's 214 of them in Theravadan, and as many as 440 in some others. And many of them are very petty, because large numbers of people living together can get quite petty. And I think it's important to separate monastic sangha from what we have here, which is lay people, some priests, and we're not cohabiting. I mean, if everybody moved in with Frank and Alana, it would. They must naturally arise. And I do think I'm a great believer in at least a minimum of written rules, an ethics statement and a dispute statement. They're not foolproof, but they do work. And amongst us, so let's say 20 people, probably okay. But if you grow, as you grow, you need to know who to complain to, or you need a lot of confidence to be able to put your hand up and say, well, everybody, I'm unhappy about this. And at the moment, we're strong enough to do that, and I hope we can. I'd like to thank Frank, Doug, Ilana for providing such a safe place for us all to talk. Thank you.
So I think everyone has had a chance to speak. Again, I'm just a voice in the Sangha. This is why it's a safe place. It's not Frank and Doug and Alana. It's all of you here make the Sangha, and that's what the safe place is. It's got nothing to do with Frank and Alana and Doug.
Well, something.
Bits. I wash the dishes, I put out the napkins.
And if you do have a complaint, can we nominate
Brady?
Charles?
Well, it could be a
to receive
rotating.
our complaints.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
Uh,
It could be a rotating monthly position. The
sounds like a
complaint
committee.
receiver. Anyway, thank you so much, all of you, for being a Sangha in which I could speak about the Sangha, to the Sangha, with the Sangha, and would all talk back. And I just had such a good time. I love the Sangha. Thank you. Doug, will you close?
May our intentions equally penetrate every being and place with the true merit of the Buddha way. Beings are numberless, we vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible, we vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, we vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, we vow to be it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Hey Frank, I have another sentence to add to your, I love the Sangha.